How much ammunition has former agent Peter Strzok given the president and his supporters in trying to undermine the special counsel probe?
Oh, I think he's put a couple more bullets in the holster in terms of having the president's supporters feel that the investigation is lopsided and personal against the president. That's to be sure.
Of course, the lawyers of the president have hinted that they will actually file a subpoena. Could this be something that the president, that works for the president, maximum drama if it's in fact taken to the Supreme Court?
You know, I don't know procedurally what the president's attorneys are going to do moving forward or how that takes shape. I will answer the political angle on this, and that is I think the president's supporters are very dug in, and as these things continue to unfold, it just makes them all the more certain that this is a witch hunt. I think the Democrats almost universally feel that this is not a witch hunt, and I think that there's some of us in the middle that think that the independent counsel should proceed with the investigation, let the chips fall where they may. But heading into the midterms, this gives, I think, more ammunition to the president and his supporters, to be sure.
From what you know, Congressman, do you believe that there is probable cause to pursue the allegation of collusion, not necessarily from the president personally, but with his campaign staff?
When you use the term probable cause, that is it tends to be a legal conclusion. Let me say this. I think that the investigation is legitimate. I think that there are some surrounding the president who clearly were involved, whether by design or by accident, with Russian operatives. But that does not mean that the president had any role in it. And at this point in time, there's been no evidence put forth that says that. And listen, I've been critical of the president. I do support the investigation reaching its whatever conclusion it may reach, but I have not seen any evidence at this point that would indicate that the president was in any way involved.
Yeah, and that's why I said specifically, maybe not the president personally, but his campaign staff. Then that raises the question in my mind, why doesn't the president make a decision one way or the other? Shut it down, which is within his constitutional power, just shut it down, as he keeps saying he should be doing, according to his tweet, or just let it go and be quiet? Why does he take this middle course of incessant criticism and saying somebody should shut it down rather than let it going forth, or shut it down?
Look, as a well-respected journalist, I'm sure you can attest to the fact that so many of us wish we could get inside the president's head to figure out why he says or does some of the things that he does. I think in this case, the answer is he likes a lot of chaos, particularly in a news cycle surrounding him and having all the attention be on him. And in this, with your particular question, the will he or won't he question is something that it kind of feeds a news cycle. It doesn't require him to have to answer or do anything without him being the central point of the story.
If the Mueller investigation continues to drag on, is it a good thing for the president in the sense that Americans will get tired of it? Or is it better for Mr. Mueller to just wait out the president until he comes forth and gives him an interview, in your view?
I used to think that the longer this drug on, the worse it would be for Republicans, the worse it might be for the president. I've started to come to the conclusion that the longer that it continues, the more the president's supporters will view it as a witch hunt, and the more the people will just get tired of it. I mean, I can recall back with President Clinton and those impeachment proceedings where everyone was outraged at the then President Clinton's conduct, and by the end of it, more folks were outraged by Republicans just incessantly continuing on with an investigation. Here, this is about something serious, Russian interference with the election. We should get to the bottom of it. I do think that the president's tweets and continued focus on this actually has the effect of accelerating and creating a more voluminous record here than actually exists, and it does kind of become ad nauseum for a lot of people.
So, Congressman, you're running for election come November.
I'm not. I am not. I am not running for re-election.
Okay, better yet, then you don't have a dog in this hunt. Do the people back in your home district, do they care about this issue at all, the Mueller investigation? Maybe they should, but do they when they go to the polls?
I think the answer is no. I think that the midterm question will be Democrats being outraged by the president, a lot of Republicans feeling that we are headed on the right path policy-wise, even though some may take exception with a tweet here or there. And then you're going to have some swing voters. They're going to ask the question, is my member of Congress independent? Are they a responsible check and balance on any excess of this administration? Or do we need a Democrat in there to provide a full institutional check and balance? And I think that a lot of races are going to come down to that question. Republicans have a good message. Very ambitious attack on the opioid epidemic. 10-year reauthorization of the CHIP program. Tax cuts are working. Regulatory reform measures have done a world of good for economic growth in this country. You have to juxtapose that with, the president calling Omarosa a dog and a lot of this stuff that's soap opera-ish, but that it really takes up an entire news cycle, and people don't like hearing that stuff. So that's the Republican challenge. It's not what we're doing policy-wise. It's some of this extracurricular type stuff that has nothing to do with policy, but that does bleed into cultural. It does bleed into kitchen table talk.
So what about the image that the GOP can be linked to corruption? And I'm not only talking because of Chris Collins, the New York congressman, but also because the Paul Manafort trial, which is separate from the Mueller probe, but it's still ongoing. You've heard the cases where Manafort turned to Jared Kushner for help in trying to get a Trump administration job for a Chicago banker. So what about the image that the GOP or the administration is doing anything but drain the swamp?
Well, I think the Democrats are desperately going to try and push that narrative. But if you look at individual Republican members of Congress, who I serve with, talented, hardworking, intelligent, results-driven, where's the beef? I mean, in terms of any corruption charge against an individual member, most voters know who their member of Congress is, and they're going to measure this, I think, on an independent case-by-case basis. Yes, there's been some folks in the administration that have done wrong. Yes, you can look at Paul Manafort and some others. But I think they're going to look at their individual member of Congress. You're not saying this, but Nancy Pelosi desperately wants to use this strategy. I don't think that it works. I think if that's where Democrats want to put all their cards, that it's not going to end well for them.